Gilbert Gottfried, and this is Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Frank Santopadre, and we are recording again at Nutmeg Post with our engineer, Frank Verderosa. Our guest this week is someone I've been looking forward to meeting. He's the founder and proprietor of the #1 celebrity nudity, that's right, nudity entity known as MrSkin. He refers to himself as the world's foremost authority on naked celebrities. I could give him a run for his money, but I'll be polite since he's a guest. He's appeared on the Howard Stern Show. I think I did, but I don't remember that far back.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. I got the name doesn't ring a bell at this point. And he's also been profiled in the New York Times, USA Today, the Chicago Tribune. His enormously popular website, MrSkin.com, attracts more than 10 million visitors a month. Here's to give us the rundown on every nude scene in history to feature Papillon Susu. Please welcome MrSkin himself, Jim McBride.
Thank you, Gilbert. It's a big honor to be here.
Welcome, Jim.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you,
doing
Frank.
this.
You know, it's a funny thing. Normally when we have a guest, you have to do a little bit of research beforehand, but this I feel like I've been researching it my entire life.
Yeah, you've been rear searching.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
He was very excited about this book.
Well,
Jim.
when I listen to your show, we're from the same era in the sense of I'm really interested in the actresses from the 70s and 80s, and especially from the drive-in movies and the B movies, and even the Italian sex comedies or that anything that happened on cable TV in the 80s, which back then they didn't have a lot of programming, so you saw tons of drive-in and tons of British comedies or Italian movies with great nudity, and I love that stuff. I'm one of those guys that likes still one of the rare guys that still likes Bush. You know, there are not a lot of them out there anymore, Gilbert.
There are, for me, like the bigger the name actress, the more legitimate the actress is, the more horny I get.
I heard you. Right. One time I was listening to, I think you were on Opie and Jim Norton's show. I think that's where I heard it. And you mentioned something that just hit home with me is, I mean, yeah, like any guy, I like to see porn and all that, but I don't get as titillated by porn as I do by a famous actress doing a nude scene, especially for the first time. To me, knowing them and them having some sort of celebrity makes it so much more exciting. I don't need to see them having sex. Just to see them naked is a huge thrill.
So Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah.
Really does it for you.
Yeah.
See, that's
by the way, she's done nudity.
Really?
Yeah, Midsummer Night's Dream in 1967.
It's just like when those magazines, Celebrity Sleuth and Celebrity Skin, would have like a porn actress or an actress who only does nudity. And to me, I don't care.
I agree, but at the same time, Celebrity Sleuth, which is, I've actually become friends with him, and he actually has an auction, by the way. I should talk to you about this after the show. In December, he's selling his entire collection of celebrity paraphernalia, which is amazing. But that same Celebrity Sleuth, you're right about that. I wouldn't get excited about the porn girls, but he throws in out of the blue a Betty White topless. Now I'm interested.
That picture is really Betty White?
Yeah, what happened was he just collects, like I said, celebrity paraphernalia, and especially towards the nudity angle. And she was on a deck. In the 50s, she was a up-and-coming model, trying to make a buck. She did a thing where she ended up on remember when they used to have decks of playing cards with naked women?
Oh, yes.
She was naked on a deck of playing cards.
Incredible.
And he got them. I think they're in his auction. And it's fascinating. I mean, this is the actual Betty White. And she was never nude in a movie or television show, but she was nude on a deck of playing cards. That's good enough for me. I'm happy, right?
Now, a friend of mine has who works at movie premieres and stuff. He has an expression that he coined for me of something called Gilbert nudity.
Okay.
And what Gilbert nudity is.
Can't wait to hear this.
And a perfect example of Gilbert nudity is Elizabeth McGovern in Ragtime.
Oh, that scene goes on forever. She's just talking. They're not having sex. She's just talking topless.
It's casual nudity.
Yes.
Mike McPadden told me this about you.
Gilbert nudity equals casual
nudity.
You don't want, in other words, you don't want to see them bumping the uglies. You just want to see them
And that's
talking.
always too artsy and pretend. Whenever they describe a film as steamy and sensual, I don't care. I want to see a girl doing her taxes naked, you know?
That's so funny.
Did you have that one?
Let me think of a girl nude doing her taxes. I can't recall that happening in a movie, but
It's just like one time I remember I was at a strip club.
okay.
And they do those, the blue and red and green lights flashing, and it's dark, and just these weird, soft lights of different colors, and music playing, and the girl's gyrating and touching herself. And then somehow somebody accidentally hit one of the switches, and the music stopped, and the house lights just went on. So it was a bright lit room, no music, and the girl's just standing there naked. And I thought, now this is hot.
No bells and whistles is your motto.
The pretense of the show is the turnoff.
Yes.
Just it's like if she goes and makes a payphone call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, to me, the ideal nude scene would be like a known celebrity standing on one of those revolving pie trays in a diner.
I have one for you.
Very disturbing.
Okay.
Mimi Rogers was in a movie called Door on the Floor with Jeff Bridges.
I love
where
that
he's a
movie.
painter,
Yeah.
And he was painting her, or doing a painting of her. She stood on one of those things that rotate.
Oh, my God.
Please go to my website and enjoy that, because Mimi Rogers has everything we love. Big, full, natural breasts, bush, gorgeous woman, and just one of my favorite nude scenes of all time. Then these say it and I can make it happen.
Now Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
I know I saw her bush in one of those when she was getting out of a car.
Right, like those you forget to wear underwear shots?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And her bush, if anyone out there hasn't seen it, looks like you imagine Anne Hathaway's bush to look. It was very neatly trimmed.
Right.
And not at all unruly. And And now I remember she was in some movie where she goes to a doctor and opens her
Love and Other Drugs.
I saw that one too,
that's
Jake
a great
Gyllenhaal.
one. But I recommend Havoc, a movie she did when she was trying to change her image from being the girl in Princess Diaries, and she ended up being in the movie. Her and her girlfriend hung out with East LA gangbangers. What good could come of that? And she had some real wild nudity and sex scenes in that. I recommend you check that out too.
But I don't care about the sex scenes.
Yeah, that's true. But she has some real good nudity and a sex scene too.
Gilbert nudity.
Yeah, from now on, just GN. She has some GN.
The American film.
You just want to see her nude like unclogging a sink.
Yes.
Right. just doing casual things in the house.
Yeah. Right.
No, just like nude, walking into a room, standing there and going, oh, why did I come into this room for?
Yeah, and then turn around, because then you get the frontal and the backle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Okay.
that I could jerk off to.
Okay, I got you.
Oh, God.
Now, you know what pisses me off is these actresses, who have wild sex and then right afterwards are clutching the blanket against their
who does that
breasts.
in real life? If you just had wild sex, you're going to hide?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Or these people who get dressed at the edge of the bed.
Yeah.
Like they pull on their clothes.
There's also a lot of scenes where the actress gets up and she takes the blanket with her
Yes.
and walks with the blanket
and
as
it
covering.
wraps perfectly. Yes. Oh, also when they start wrapping a towel around themselves before they're even out of the bathtub.
Right.
You feel cheated?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Jim, take us back. You grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Just want to get a little sense of your history and where this whole hobby began and then turned into a career. Where did the obsession begin? You mentioned before that cable changed your life.
I think we can all remember the 70s when we didn't have the internet, we didn't have cable television, and we were coming of age, so to speak, and we wanted to see naked babes like any other guy, and it was tough back then. You had to work hard. Sears catalog if you had it.
Steal Dad's Playboy.
National Geographic. God, if you get your hands on a Playboy,
Right.
you could, it'd be amazing. But I was just, just the year I grew up in. I wanted to see nudity, and there was this magical day in the fall of 1980 when I was a senior in high school, and we got literally within a week a Betamax player and cable television. So all of a sudden I had HBO, Cinemax, Showtime. Now this is going from, I'd have to watch in the 70s PBS and Catch an Eye Claudius, with no way to tape it, and there'd be like 6 seconds of nudity in an hour, and I'd be just staring at the things. This is the kind of kid I was. So all of a sudden now I have cable and I have a Betamax. I started every night. I'd go through the cable guide, and you know how they used to have the big N in the description of the movies? Back when people looked at cable guides, now everything's on your DVR and all. But I would go through that, and I'd see an N for nudity. I'd highlight it and tape it, and then the next morning I'd edit that nude scene onto a different tape. So I had just 5-hour tapes of just nude scenes. My buddies loved me because I did all this work. They'd come over to the house, we'd have a few beers and watch 3 hours of great nude scenes from movies, and I continued to collect this, organize this, had a passion about it, and just over time, like any guy that maybe collects, Civil War memorabilia or collects baseball, you become an expert on that subject, and that was the origin of it. And then over time, I had a few lucky breaks that led me to where I am today, but really the origin of it was just the era I grew up with, and then those technologies meeting at the great time in 1980.
Could you name, or would you name, some nude scenes that were complete disappointments where you really wanted?
Yeah, I mean, there's been times I'd see an actress naked, and I want to be clear that at my website we're very positive about nudity. My feeling has always been that there's always some guy out there, like Kathy Bates could be nude. There is some guy out there that's excited that Kathy Bates is naked. Why should we rain on their parade and say, she doesn't look good? No. The editorial directive at our website is we celebrate nudity in film. So we're really about that at the website. Now you're asking me personally, has this happened? I remember, there was a movie with Richard Burton in 1980 called Circle of Two.
With Linda Blair?
No,
he looked awful naked.
With Tatum O'Neal.
Tatum O'Neal.
Yes.
Okay, I knew it was a child star.
And after Little Darlings, I was dying for a scene, and it didn't quite live up to what I hoped it would be.
Right.
Those moments are few and far between because, for me, just anyone doing a nude scene is a cause for celebration. But I remember that being a tad bit of a disappointment. So,
well, if you find out it's a body double, it's disappointing, isn't it?
That's the bigger issue.
Those are horrible.
Yeah. And here's another thing that I'm finding as I get older. When I go back and look at nude scenes maybe that I haven't watched in a while, I'm noticing where an actress has fake breasts where at the time I didn't, and I'm not a fake breast guy. So one great example, we all remember in Animal House when Belushi's on the ladder and he's looking in at Mary Louise Weller.
Sure.
Go look at that nude scene again. Those are the most fake breasts I've ever seen.
Really?
But in the 1970s when you saw that, and you're a kid, that was like, oh my God, those are the most perfect breasts I've ever seen. But now you go back and look at it under today's, now that you've seen so many breasts or know the difference between fake and real. And that's a bummer when I go back and see that. And it's happened to me a few times.
And there have been a few, it's funny, like Julia Roberts never did nudity.
Well, she in Pretty Women, at the 1 hour and 35-minute mark when she's on the bed with Richard Gere, if you look through the bed, the iron bed frame, there's a 1 second thing, and we do pause it at our website where you can see right breast. It's her 1 second in her career where she's nude.
Wow.
But Gilbert, this is very important that you go check this out.
Wow.
And he knows that it's at the 135 mark.
Oh, my God. But it's like, because the funny thing is in Pretty Woman, it starts off with so obviously a body double because they're panning up the body, and when they get to the face, the pillow is over her face.
Well, and the other thing is it used to be, we're really good at, doing this 16 years at the website. We're very good at knowing when it's a body double. The rule I used to give people, if you're an amateur and you want to know, is just make sure you see the face with the body. Yeah. Things have changed, though, with CGI. We're getting these movies.
Which I hate.
It's really tough.
You hate CGI generally, or you hate CGI nudity?
No, because I hear more and more they can make an actress look like she's naked without her being
Dakota
naked.
Fanning had a movie where she was running naked on a beach.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah,
yes.
Very Good Girls.
And I remember them talking about that.
And it's like, oh my God, I have skin scouts at film festivals. They're all excited about it, reporting it to me, and we saw it. And we were like, wow, that's awesome. Put it at the website, Dakota Fanning nude, and then we found out she was wearing flesh-colored bikini bottoms, and they were able to make her look like she was nude, which is like the worst thing. But we've seen they've been pretty good about finding this stuff out. And you got to remember, you need a decent budget, like Game of Thrones, The Walk of Shame in the final in the last episode. You need to have a hell of a budget to do it right.
Oh, speaking of Game of Thrones, if this is the one he's even in, I think I ran into Peter Dinklage today.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic actor.
Thank God I was looking down when and I saw it, and I wanted to go over and talk to him.
Yeah, it's a fun show.
I was afraid he'd turn around and go, "Oh no, I'm Vern Troyer."
They look nothing alike.
Yes. So, I remember they even found photos of Dakota Fanning with the bikini bottom.
It's a big bummer. Yeah.
And that was horrible.
Yeah, so that's something, what happens, there's so many people that work on these movies that we're finding that if that does happen, word gets out somehow, some way. A lot of times the actress will be like, that wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? So word does get out, but it's not like the old days where we could tell immediately if it was the actress or a body double.
Now, there was that movie where Natalie Portman is basically in a medieval thong. And now, was that really her ass?
Yeah, when she dove into the water, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
She was nude in that Wes Anderson short.
Hotel Chevalier.
There you
yes,
go.
what's so great about
almost no one's seen that one.
Yeah, I know. It's like very few people have seen it, and the beauty of it is it's only 15 minutes long, the movie, so it doesn't take you long to fast forward to the nude scene.
Yeah.
So cable was a life-changing moment.
Oh, my God.
I remember my parents getting cable, and I remember watching Susan George in Mandingo.
Oh, my God. With Ken Norton?
With Ken Norton.
Well, let me tell you.
In the 70s.
So I get the thing. One of the first movies I taped was a 1976 film called Bobby Joe and the Outlaw. This is 1980. I'm taping this, right?
With Linda
Carter. Yeah.
And now this blew my mind. Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, who I was watching on Saturday morning television as Wonder Woman, fantasizing about her all the time, is in a movie where in the first 35 minutes, she's nude 3 times, capped off by a scene where she's skinny dipping while doing mushrooms with an Indian chief. Sounds good to me. I'm like, what else is out there, God? And
Here's what I remember when we were talking about the body doubles where you don't see the face. If for Three Stooges fans, always know there was like after Shemp died.
Shemp used a body double for his new scenes?
Well, no.
He had to have a hairy butt, though. Yeah.
They had about 3 or 4 movies they made where using some old Shemp footage and this guy who would have his back to the screen and like a long kind of messed up black wig. And he'd be running around sideways, kind of like, like in Seinfeld. When he sees his boss, Steinbrenner.
Oh, yeah.
It's always like that sideways run.
Right.
And so you'll see some shemp movies where a guy has his back to the camera and he's just jumping from side to side.
That's interesting. I'll look for that. I saw that thing you posted. I don't know if it was on your website. It was the Three Stooges. It was a color short where they were at like a boardwalk or something.
Probably posted by Mike McPadden.
Was it?
Yeah,
well, I saw it at your
director.
website, but it was really cool to see them in color, just doing some shtick outside of within a Three Stooges short, which was pretty cool.
Oh, now you prepared some movies of that I was
Actresses.
in. Actresses.
Oh yeah. Movies, yes. I have a few that
co-stars of mine who are naked. Jack Warden.
There's
Hilarious.
Oh God. It's you actually. One of the movies you were in actually is in the MrSkin Hall of Fame for nudity, and it's How to Be a Player.
Oh yes,
remember that? Yeah,
yes.
From like the '90s.
And I didn't see one tit the entire time.
So they don't let you in. They didn't let you in for the nude scenes.
No.
Yeah.
You weren't asked to do any nudity?
Yeah. They demanded I didn't.
Yeah, because you've been in so many movies. If you cross-reference MrSkin.com to your career, you actually like. Beverly Hills Cop 2, Brigitte Nielsen, who at the time was spectacular. You didn't see women like that.
Right.
Now it's more common to see women, big Nordic. But back then that was wild.
And this was before she turned into a man altogether.
Yeah. But yeah, you had a lot of movies with some good news.
Oh, Hot to Trot with Virginia Madsen and Cindy Pickett.
Virginia Madsen was naked in that Jacqueline Bisset movie, Class.
Yes, she was the one when Andrew McCarthy slips and pulls her top down. Right. That was a great moment. From that golden age of teen sex comedies from about 1980 to 85 when you had Class and Fast Times at Ridgemont High and My Tutor, Private School.
The one Kelly Preston is nude in.
Gilbert,
what's the name of that
This is
one?
another homework assignment for you. Is Kelly Preston did a movie in 1985 called Mischief.
That's the one, Mischief.
And we did one time at our website, we did how they have the NCAA tournament? Well, we did a play on that. We called it the Whack It Bracket, and we had the best nude scenes from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So we had 16 in each, and we did brackets. And we get a lot of traffic at our website, and we had the guys vote. So they'd pair them up. We ranked them, and then they'd vote, like following along the NCAA tournament. Kelly Preston in Mischief not only won out of the 80s bracket with all those great nude scenes, Porky's, Phoebe Cates, all that great nudity, she won it all.
It's a memorable...
It is. I tell you, if you go check out, it happens at the 59-minute mark, Kelly Preston and Mischief. It's a kind of throwaway movie, no one other than that nude scene.
Yeah.
And they're playing Buddy Holly music in the background. It's like the perfect nude scene. It's awesome.
And I remember because there was also around that time Summer Lovers.
Oh yeah, well
who was in that?
Daryl Hannah.
Oh,
and
the
Valerie.
one with Peter. Was that the one
Peter
with Peter
Gallagher?
Gallagher?
Well, see, you guys remember Peter Gallagher. I'm remembering Daryl Hannah. And this girl Valerie Quinescen, who was a French actress, who sadly about 6 years later died in a car accident in France.
Bad.
But that was
she was beautiful.
Yeah, and they were having it was just like a menage. It was summer. It should have been called Menage Summer Lovers.
I know that film. Randall Kleiser, the guy that made Grease.
Yes,
made that picture.
And it was also that thing of like there was that time period where they would make movies like Blame It on Rio and all
Michelle
that
Johnson.
just plain had like nudity coming up every 5 seconds.
Yeah, and a lot of full nudity back then, and a lot of girls with natural bodies. They weren't real super skinny. It was that. So I consider that the golden age of movies.
And what was her name again in Blame It on Rio? Michelle
Johnson.
Yeah,
the story on her is interesting. She was a sophomore in college. She had never acted before, or if she did, it was like a minor something. And they picked her out and put her in. And that first opening scene when her and Demi Moore are on the beach, and Michael Caine and is it Joseph?
Joe Bologna.
Joe Bologna is they're their dads, and the two girls have their backs to them, and the girls turn around at a nude beach and are walking up to them topless. is just one of the great moments in movie history as far as I'm concerned. I just love that scene.
Now, there was another...
These are the greatest hits of Gilbert Gottfried.
There was another movie where they were not naked, but they were both in thongs. And that was to
Jillian?
To Jilly, yes!
Yeah, on her 37th
Holy
birthday.
Christ.
That was Claire Danes.
And like Fortier or...
Yeah.
Is Michelle Pfeiffer in that
Forleo.
movie?
What's that?
Isn't Michelle Pfeiffer in that movie? I got it.
I can't remember.
I
She
have it
wasn't
wrong?
nude in that.
Yeah.
She wasn't in
I
a
know.
thong
And it's
in
the
that.
other girl,
Yeah.
this one,
Yeah.
Fortier,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
Fortier,
Yeah.
who had a great ass.
Yes, but it's so funny you remember. I mean, that was just that's just anyone who grew up watching cable TV in the 80s or 90s like religiously knows all those movies.
So the Linda Carter movie was a game changer for you.
Well, it made me realize that who else is out there that's been naked, and pretty soon, I found a movie with Jacqueline Bisset. Movie called Secrets. Now we all remember the
Yes.
Deep, the greatest,
Deep, sure.
No,
the greatest wet T-shirt scene ever.
I saw Secrets.
You did? You're about 12 people in the world have seen
Yes,
Secrets.
yes. And she's like hanging off the bed kind
Yes,
of upside
backwards,
down
her boobs are
with
like-
her enormous breasts.
Yes.
Mike McPadden says that Valerie Perrine in Steam Bath.
Well, that was another game
Was another
changer,
one?
but it was a fluky one because in the early 70s on PBS, they aired, because Steam Bath was a big Broadway
Yeah,
thing.
written by Bruce J. Friedman.
Right.
And this
Oh, yeah,
was-
right,
Oh,
right.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
When this was
father of our friend Drew.
Bill
Right.
Bixby.
And Bill Bixby's in
That's
there.
right.
So they put it on PBS, and it was a big deal because there was going to be nudity. So I'm a kid. My parents are watching it upstairs. I go down to the basement, and I can't stress enough the difference. Nowadays, you could TiVo something, pause it, do whatever you need to do, rewind. Back then, there was no way to pause it. You had to totally sit there and focus on that nude scene. It was there for 8 seconds, and it was gone, but it was like emblazed, in your memory. And when that aired, that was the first time I'd ever seen a celebrity nude because I was a young kid. And she was big. I mean, she was
a
at
Superman,
the time,
yeah.
And she used to be like she was one of those actresses that you knew you could just snap your fingers and she'd get naked. She
Slaughterhouse Five, Lenny. Remember the movie
yeah.
Lenny?
Yeah.
She was So that was a great moment for me. It was just one of those, who was the first celebrity you ever saw naked in a movie or television show was Valerie Perrine.
And so you would memorize the scenes to impress your friends. You knew
Just not even to impress my friends, just because I was so into it. It was like
knew
a
them.
kid that just wanted everything. I had all the movie stuff on certain tapes.
Right.
Different eras. I had it all.
So I think our listeners would be interested to know, and I'm interested to know, how it went from being what was a hobby to a profession.
Well, all throughout the 80s and 90s, I'm this fun party trick, right? So if you're at a wedding or we're out with the guys at the bar, they just throw names at me, and I could, off the top of my head, tell them if they've been naked and how far into the movie. So the guys loved it, right? It's a fun
It's
thing.
a good parlor
So
trick.
I ended up in the early 90s, I got a job at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and that is the world's, at the time, it's different now, but at the time it was like the world's biggest locker room, because you see those guys in the pits yelling and screaming at each other, but there's also a lot of downtime. So like you'd have hours where nothing is trading, nothing's going on. So I'd be standing on the corner of the pit, and people within the pit all knew that I knew this stuff, and they'd have runners come. A runner is someone that would do gopher jobs for people at for the brokers. So I'd stand there, and a girl would come up, and the note would say like Ashley Judd, and I'd write down, Norma Jean and Marilyn, normal life, da da da, and I'd hand it, and then I'd hear like this in the quiet, I'd hear yeah, and there'd be a big celebration. So I was able to really hone my skills for 7 years when I was working down there. And what happened was I was in a bar in Chicago in 97, 98, sometime around there. And same thing, my buddies are quizzing me. It just so happened that a guy that had a radio show in Chicago was overhearing this. He's like, there's no fucking way that you know this off the top of your head. He goes, you've got to come on my show. People would be fascinated by this. And I was like, really? I mean, it'll work on the radio? He goes, trust me. So he came up with the name MrSkin.
Was this a guy that was in Up the Academy?
Yes,
this guy that
Harry
was in the
Tynowitz.
Mad Magazine movie.
He was he was the heavy guy in Up the Academy.
Yeah, I love
was
that
always doing
connection.
that.
Oh,
He was always doing that funny
that was
laugh.
a fine film.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
well, Matt had that. Bill Gaines had that statue in his office,
Yes.
the Up the Academy,
Yeah.
and he scraped out where it said Mad Magazine presents Up the Academy. They scraped off the P so that it said Mad Magazine presents Up the Academy.
I know they kind of screwed that up.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what happened was I went on his show, and I left my job at the Merc. They let me break to go over there. I did 20 minutes on the air, put the cans on, had people call in. I nailed every question. I thought that was my 15 minutes of fame. I'm done. I'm going back to the Merc. And the producer tapped me on the shoulder as I was walking out the door, and he said, "Dude, we had so many people that wanted to talk to you. Could you come back?" So it became a regular bit, and then a bigger show in Chicago, the Steve Dahl show in Chicago, heard me, and he kind of took me. And then once I was on his show, then you know how it is in radio, producers kind of hear about this. And then I started to go on. I was in like Maddie in the Morning in Boston, the Bob Rivers show in Seattle, and I'm sitting here with nothing to promote. I have a job. They're getting pissed off that I'm leaving work to do this.
You're still working at
I'm still working, and literally just doing this is a fun thing. And luckily, I was on enough in Chicago where I was at an event for a radio station as like almost like a whack packer in a sense, you know. And the guy came up to me and he goes, "You really got to put what's in your head into a website." And I didn't even, I literally said to him, "What's a website?" I did not know. This is 1998. I had no idea what a website was. And I just did a little research. A guy at the Merc said that had a computer showed me the internet, and he had we went on Yahoo and searched celebrity nudity, and I literally, and this is a true story, I looked at the number one celebrity nudity website in 1998, whatever it was, I don't remember, and I looked at it for like 30 seconds, and I go, "Oh my God, I could do so much better than this," without knowing anything about the internet or whatever. So what happened was I raised not a lot of money, about $70,000, which is not a ton of dough. Ended up quitting my job in about March of '99. Worked nonstop for 6 months. I did the video capturing, picture capturing, wrote the bios, wrote the reviews, decided what actresses to get in the site. I had a goal of launching the website with 1,000 actresses, but I had to do everything. I had a tech guy to help me, but I had to do all the content. We have 40 people working for us now, so you can imagine. So I launched it. And on August 10th of 1999, and 5 minutes after we launched, true story, we launched at 4:45 p.m. on August 10th of 1999. At 4:50 p.m., I had my first membership, which was a guy from Cincinnati, joined for $4.95 for 3 days access, and I was like, "Wow, people are going to pay money for this," and that's how it kind of got going. And then other things happened that drove it. So, but it's pretty crazy. Like when I could remember standing in the pit at the Merc, thinking when I was trying to get this going, thinking, "Geez, if I could make like an extra $25,000 a year, just to have a little supplemental income to what I'm doing down here, that would really help me out." Thinking, never even considering that it would be a full-time occupation. Now it's been 16 years of doing this, and
with 40 employees.
With 40 employees,
Yeah.
crazy. And the funny thing is, 2014 was our best year ever, and this year's beating 2014. So it's not like it's slowing down.
Now, Jane Fonda never naked.
Oh my God, are you kidding?
Barbarella.
Remember Barbarella?
No, but you never see anything.
Quick.
Well, you got to be. You got to look
fast.
through the credits.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a beef with credit nudity because the credits get in the way.
Yes. You actually see something?
Yeah. She did The Arrangement. Remember that? Or she also did Coming Home. We could see Clute. Remember Clute?
Oh, yeah, and
She played a prostitute.
She's naked in
yeah.
that?
Oh yeah.
Come on, Gil, get with it.
Because there are so many actresses who play prostitutes who don't take their clothes off. And
yeah. You mentioned one. Pretty Baby was, or Pretty Woman was a great example of one. I want to just throw a couple at you that you might.
Okay.
Did you know?
Yeah.
The answer is yes, he did.
Did you know that Lisa Loring, who played Wednesday Addams on the Addams Family, did a nude scene?
What she was doing some softcore something or other?
Well, it was an R-rated movie called Iced.
Okay.
In which she goes full frontal. She shows her thing.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, that's an example of one I don't know if a lot of people would know.
Yeah.
Like that's
Lisa
great,
Loring. Yeah, I think she
Lisa.
did soaps.
Yeah, she was more known for.
Yeah.
As she got older, she was big in the soap world. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah. Remember the girl in sports that used to run out on the field, Morgana?
The Kissing Bandit. Yeah, sure.
Do you know that you could see those breasts if you want? She did a movie in the late 60s called Indian Raid, Indian Made. And it's a complete nothing B movie, low budget thing, but she's complete full frontal nude in it, and it's a crazy, that's the kind of stuff that over the course of time I've had to track down these obscure, hard to find movies, and those are examples of. I mean, these are movies that have never been released on DVD. Like we have them at our website in video format because they've never been released. Another great one is Marcia from the Brady Bunch did a movie called Texas Lightning in 1981, in which she, an hour and 4 minutes in, she's topless, and I mean. That's Marcia from the Brady
Maureen
Bunch.
McCormick.
In the movie, she smokes, swears, and shows her breasts. It's crazy.
You writing these titles down on the time
believe
scale?
Me. No, they're frozen in my brain now.
Yeah.
And you know what else on your website?
We'll come back to that list.
Do you remember some of your greatest puns?
Well, I got to tell you, there was. When you just started the podcast, I remember you had Paul Schaefer on.
Yeah, he's one of the first 5, I think.
Was he? And so I was listening to it.
6.
It was the first time I'd ever listened to the podcast. And all of a sudden, Gilbert and Paul, and it's from you, because you heard a MrSkin Minute.
I know the one.
Yeah, it was Helen Hunt.
Yeah, and they go, and when you see Helen Hunt's naked body, you'll definitely get a riser.
Yeah,
is that the kind of stuff that Mike McPadden would write for you?
Yeah, that was our group of guys. We get together.
God bless you.
We get together. Well, I had the rule. My thing was, listen, if you hate to use the article, you come to our site to read the articles because I know people are coming to see the actresses naked.
Oh, the writing's very funny.
I think it's real important to have a sense of humor. And the other thing, too, is when I go on radio shows and do interviews, I get sick of saying breasts, butt, or even at the website. So like when Reese Witherspoon did a topless scene, we go, look at Reese's pieces.
And see, we do more older actresses.
So we talk about Ruth Gordon nude.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Elsa Lancaster will give you a ham blaster.
That's the kind of stuff.
Oh God!
I always think about
on you.
I always think about I've been doing this like. I have meetings where we're sitting there trying to make puns off of actresses' names. Like we actually come in, people have notepads, we're sitting around, like other people are in accounting meetings or legal meetings, banking meetings. I'm in a meeting where we're trying to come up with Reese's pieces.
Olivia Dabo's Yabos?
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
Marie Dressler, more like undressler.
Gilbert, you could, if you want to make a little side
You
note.
have a little some room for Gilbert on the staff, Jim?
Oh, somebody... in that movie, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Kristen Bell has wild sex completely dressed.
Yeah, and they also had Mila Kunis in a picture topless that was photoshopped that wasn't her. So that was, but you do see male penis. So.
Oh yes, yeah. So,
nobody's photoshopping that. Or
speaking of which, while I was doing the research and I read an old article, an old interview with you, and at that time you had not started a male equivalent. You said nobody really wants to see Ed Asner nude.
Did I say that?
But now, at least
but it's changed. People do now.
A lot of people do. We do. We had him on the show. You started a male equivalent.
Yeah, it's called
MrSkin.
MrMan.com. And the first 13 years I was doing this, I resisted it. And one of the few smart things I've done in my life running this business is I have such good people that work for me that I've put a lot of the running of the business in their hands, where I'm more the Hugh Hefner, the spokesperson. I get to do stuff like this, which is what I prefer anyway. And they're so passionate and so good at what they do. And one of the things that my team of guys and people that work for me were on me for years was we got to do a male nudity site because we're going through these damn movies and television shows anyway. All we have to do is get the male nudity stuff, and we have a website. Well, they finally convinced me, and we launched it about I think it's about 3 years ago in October. And I got to say, I think I was a little naive when I first started. It would be like 50% women and 50% male clientele. It's like 90% male. Gay men are really into it. But listen, gay men love they have money to spend and they're willing to spend it. And the site's doing way better than I ever dreamed. And, we have a number of different sites. But yeah, right now we also do Mr. Man. But it is funny when I see like emails going out because I subscribe to them to see what we're doing. And, you'll like get the best bulging jock straps.
Oh, jeez.
I know. It's like, it's not as fun as the other side of the business. But, hey, it's a living. And they do a great job. And quite frankly, as far as male celebrity nudity goes, Mr. Man is by far the best because everything we learned from MrSkin we put into MrMan.com.
So then it would be, let me see.
Oh, yeah. We also had
where is he
get
going
this,
with this?
Gilbert. There was one that...
Boris Karloff. More like Boris Pull-Off.
Yeah. Can you see? Yeah. We actually did an email for Mr. Man where you had the best celebrity back sacks, where you could see sacks from behind.
What is back sack?
Oh, yeah, back sacks.
Well, okay, so this portion of the show has totally killed my heart.
Yeah, right. I know. Let's
We'll go back. We'll go back and cut this part out.
Now, someone who has never been naked, except you'll probably find something of an accidental flashing, and that's Raquel Welch.
It's funny you say that. When I get asked what actress, it's one of the questions I'll get. Like, there's got to be an actress you always wish did a nude scene that never has. And historically, it depends on the radio show I'm going on, but I will say, like, to guys like you, 100% Raquel Welch is my number one biggest disappointment because think of all the movies she was in a bikini.
Sure.
And the era she grew up with, the swinging 60s and 70s. How did Raquel Welch never do a nude scene? It's incredible. Now, in the 80s, she did a movie called Trouble in Paradise where it was a made-for-TV movie. And Gilbert, you might like this. She, her breasts were so big, she took her shirt off with her back to the camera, but she had swingers where you could see you could see from the back.
She had swingers, Gil.
She had swingers. She had swingers. So it's not a nude scene because you didn't see nip, but it's pretty cool to watch. We have that at our website. So it's a little something for you, but it was always a bummer that Raquel Welch never did a nude scene.
I remember Raquel Welch doing like one of these like multi-million-dollar 3-hour specials.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal when it was like a variety show.
Yeah,
and because she was singing too.
Yeah,
right.
She was all over the world filming it in every country, and she sang, danced, acted, did comedy, read poetry, and did everything except what you wanted Raquel Welch to do.
Right. I remember. I don't know where. That's on YouTube, by the way, if you want to just I watched that within the last year, and I didn't even know that existed, that she even did that, because it was very early 70s, and I remember she's singing in this. Like, Raquel Welch sings? I didn't know that.
She's supposedly famously difficult to work with.
Oh, yes.
When she hosted SNL, she gave them a hard time.
Yeah.
So she would be the great white whale, so to speak.
Well,
Raquel
yeah.
Welch,
I mean, another one would be Marilyn from the Munsters, Pat Priest. I always wish she did.
Well, there were two Marilyns.
Yeah, right.
Wednesday Addams wasn't enough.
Marilyn from the Munsters, Pat Priest, did a movie in the early 70s called The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant.
Oh, we know it well.
Yes.
Of course. We've talked about it on the show.
Of course. I could say this to anyone else, and they look at me like with a glazed look in their eye.
There were two
Bruce
of those
Dern
movies.
was in that.
Yeah.
There was the one with Rosie Greer and Ray Milland.
Yes.
But that's,
and then there was with Bruce Dern was in
that's
the
the one
Bruce
he's
Dern's
talking
the one
about.
I was talking about.
The other one's called The Thing with Two Heads.
Yeah.
She was in a bubble. She was in a bubble bath, and if the bubbles would have been like 1 inch lower, we would have had
Pat Priest.
We would have had Pat Priest nude.
And the one with Rosie Greer and Ray Milland sticking his head over. And I always thought, what did Rosie Greer smell like in the middle of that?
Well,
Ray Milland won an Oscar, for God's sakes.
By the way, Rosie Greer's cousin's one of my favorite actresses of all time, Pam Grier.
Pam Grier, there you go. There's some nudity.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Oh,
Coffee,
yes.
Friday Foster, all those movies. Big fan of hers.
Tell us about what happened in 2006 or 2007. Do I have the time right? You got a call from one of our previous podcast guests, Judd Apatow?
Well, it wasn't from Judd,
Okay.
but it was inspired by Judd. So in the summer of 2006, so my website's about 7 years old at the time, things starting to really go well. I get a call from the attorneys at Paramount, and my first thing is like, oh, geez, what is this? This can't be good. Yeah. And the guys, the attorney's like, listen, the guy that did 40-Year-Old Virgin, I didn't even really know who he was at the time. The guy that did 40-Year-Old Virgin wants to put your website in his next movie. We just need you to sign off on it. And I told some people about this, and there was a lot of people that said to me, well, what are you going to charge him? I got to charge him. And I was like, my gut feeling here is this guy, that 40-Year-Old Virgin was a monster hit. If he wants to put my website, why would I put any roadblocks or do anything that could potentially give them a reason to say screw it? So I said, no, I'm happy to do it. I did ask him, I go, are they going to rip the website? And he goes, no, you'll be pretty happy. Even if they would have ripped it, I would have said fine. Well, little did I know, when the movie comes out in June of 2007, the movie Knocked Up, that, by the way, did about $250 million in box office. Little did I know that the product placement for MrSkin.com in that movie was better than – the only thing I could think better was Reese's Pieces and E.T. because they literally did the whole movie. The guy, Seth Rogen, is going to – his job is to create a he's got this great idea to start a website.
You know the gag in the movie, Gil?
Oh, yes, yes.
Well, what happened was Judd Apatow had heard me on the Howard Stern show, and he was trying to come up with, like, what could be a job for this guy that's so out there, so goofy, so stupid. And he said he heard me on the show because I was able to go to the premiere of that movie, and Judd Apatow was so nice, and he talked to me, and he said, yeah, that's how I found out about it. And all the guys from the movie, Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill and all them, were super nice. And it was really a big thrill. And I tell a lot of people, too, that for my era, guys, when we're quoting lines from comedies, we got Animal House and Caddyshack and all that. Well, the younger guys today, they love that Knocked Up, Superbad. That's their Caddyshack and Animal House. Right. So I don't know if you noticed, but that damn Knocked Up plays on TNT.
Oh, it's everywhere.
E Network. It's on like a loop. It plays.
So did you get a bump from it?
Oh my God, yeah. Back in 2007, we got a huge bump. But I think the other thing is, for me, when it's just kind of cemented the website into kind of pop culture, because when I'm at a party and there's like some guy that never heard of MrSkin.com, it happens. I'll say, well, do you listen to the Howard Stern show? Or do you know? And if they don't, then I'll say, did you see the movie Knocked Up? And that's usually the one that they'll tip it in. They'll say, oh, I know what your website is.
Now, this gives me a flashback to a movie where I don't remember the title, but where Katherine Heigl gets up from a beach chair in a thong.
Prince Valiant.
Was that the one with Gerard Depardieu?
Yes. Well, okay, yes, but I think she was underage.
So what?
I'm not 100% sure of her age in that movie.
Okay, we can cut this part.
And it's not. I mean, it's a legitimate movie, but
they showed it. Nola, so she may have been underage.
Yeah, but I don't know if a thong is bad, and I don't know.
Now, to me, it wasn't. At the time, I thought it was a darn.
He's just trying to get it back after we talked about male nudity.
Because
she finally did a movie called Side Effects in 2005, where she showed her butt without the thong. So that's something else to check.
That was Side Effects?
The Soderbergh
Side
movie?
Effects.
The Steven Soderbergh movie with
okay,
Rooney
I'll
Mara?
have to see that. So when you're saying when she got up from the beach chair, she may have been 12 or something?
No, not that young, but I'm not quite sure she was 18 at the time. That was the joke. Remember, his dad was like...
Yeah, I know. They made 2 movies at that time that were really weird because it was about guys basically getting horny over their daughters. And there was this one with Katherine Heigl.
And Two Jillian.
Joe, that's a third one.
Remember in Two Jillian, the dads are like, wow, look at those asses.
Yes, yes.
Turn around, they're like their 16-year-old daughters.
And then there's another
Trump-like.
one with Tony Danza.
Oh, she's out of control.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
And in that, he's staring at her body the whole time.
That was Mickey Dolenz' daughter.
Amy Dolenz.
Yeah.
She was a great one.
Yeah.
I find this interesting, too. You were just alluding to getting you were contacted by a studio and made you anxious. But you have a good working relationship with movie companies.
Yeah. We've been doing this 16 years. I have about 75 studios or movie companies that send us screeners of DVDs. We get so many movie fans that come to our website. Obviously, they want to see nudity, but they also appreciate celebrity nudity. So, if you have a movie that has a nude scene, send it our way, because not only are we going to promote it to our 9 million, 10 million visitors a month, but I have a wonderful platform to go on radio shows with the MrSkin Minute and to talk about the best new nude scenes all the time. I'm on shows all the time. So what great free publicity, if you will, for your thing. Yeah.
Gilbert loves a pun.
Now,
Publicity.
another movie like that, I forget it, but it was a Christmas movie, family Christmas comedy, where Matthew Broderick is looking at a girl on stage and going, "Ooh, yeah, who's your daddy?" And then she turns around and goes, "Oh, my God, I'm her daddy." And it was like, this is supposed to be, like a family film.
It's funny you bring that up because I get asked a lot of times when I do shows, people will ask me to do a list and they'll say, okay, could you do the 10 best horror movies for nudity for Halloween? Or can you do, hey, it's baseball season starting, the best baseball nude scenes of all time? And then I get the guy saying, could you do the best Christmas movies for nudity? I'm like, think about that for 1 second.
Well, even baseball movies with nude scenes is making my head spin.
My only thing I could do with
Bull Durham?
Right, right. My only thing I could do with Christmas movies, the movie Slapshot, the great hockey movie from the 70s.
Yeah, it's a good one.
There's a scene where Melinda Dillon is in bed with Paul Newman, and she has the incredible banana boobs, the kind that go like this.
Oh, yes.
I'm a big fan. Yeah. Ski slopes or banana boobs.
We had banana boobs mentioned on this show. Do you remember?
Yes.
Really?
I'm
proud of you.
When he said that,
come up before.
I was trying to. Of course.
He's got it.
It was yes. Danny Bonaducci
was talking about Susan Day.
Yeah, and he said she had banana tits.
Well, you could see him in First Love, 1977 with Beverly D'Angelo. But anyway, I would get him. That's great.
So this is the second time in this show.
Are you proud of that?
Yes, that banana tits have been mentioned.
Well, let me tell you, there's some of my favorite breasts I've ever seen in a movie, and on the subject of Christmas,
in King Kong, Fay Ray's name in it is banana tits.
Well,
Stop that.
Well, the mom in A Christmas Story, Ralphie and Red Ryder BB Gun Christmas Story,
Melinda Dillon
is Melinda Dillon.
Right, there you go.
There's your Christmas tie-in.
That's as close as you get.
As close as I can get as a Christmas thing for you.
All right, let's ask you about some other ones. These are just ones I remember. And Gil, I'm sure you have your own list.
Yes.
And then I want to talk to Jim about, sports movies and other movies.
Well,
and you're a Godfather fan too.
Yeah, I love Godfather.
Before I forget, when they used to come out with those cheap horror movies were a great source of nudity.
Hey, nudity in horror movies like peanut butter and jelly. I mean, it's like, why would you? I mean, that's part of the fun of horror movies was to see the naked girls. There's no question.
We're going to get tweets from people now telling us that nude nip slips, and nude scenes in Christmas movies.
Well, let me. Yeah. It would be
How did
fun.
you guys miss it?
Well, the greatest. You just said nip slips. I have to tell you guys something that you got to go check out because this is right up your guys' alley.
Don't group me with him, Jim.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. You have other things going on in your life, is what you're saying?
When Alyssa Sim played Scrooge, you could see his dick for an hour and 5 minutes.
Nip slip is... Nip slips are... I love nip slips because it's something that's accidental. It wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
And one of the greats of all time was in 1954, there was a movie called With a Song in My Heart, which is a musical with Susan Hayward.
Sure.
Now, this is 1954. They filmed the whole movie. Nobody caught this. I don't know how it happened, but she's in a dance number wearing, one of those dresses where you have it's like a shell kind of over your boobs.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So they're dancing, and all of a sudden, she raises her arms or something. Her whole left breast comes out of the dress. I don't know how they missed it, but if you watch the DVD, you could see it. To me, the greatest nip slip of all time because of the era, 1954. It's Susan Hayward. It's just one of those things that you just never would expect, but a boob popped out.
Okay. There's a famous photograph where a couple is dancing. The guy is someone who I think I've mentioned on the show once or twice, Cesar Romero.
Oh, my God.
Once or twice.
And I may, and I'm not even sure it was that many times, but he's dancing with Carmen Miranda, and he's spinning her in the air,
I have
and
that picture.
you see her
Yes.
pussy. Carmen Miranda's pussy.
That's a for
Is
sure.
it covered in fruit?
Yeah. Yes.
Does she have banana tits?
Banana was sticking
She's
out of
got to
it.
have banana
No,
tits.
that is 100% hers.
Yeah.
And it was during a flip, and let's just say there was a jungle down there too.
There is.
Then, yeah.
How many people you think are on the planet? Is it 8 billion or something like that? There is no one talking about Carmen Miranda's vagina right now, other than the three of us. Here's some greatest hits. These are some favorites of mine, Jim, and I wanted to run them by you. Saturn III.
Farrah Fawcett
Quick shot
with
of Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah, with Kirk Douglas. Yeah, because why that was so cool is she had just kind of left Charlie's Angels,
Right.
and it was like you had seen her on that show, thinking, "Oh, what's the chance? What's the chance?" And then she does the Saturn III. Even though it's quick,
It's very quick.
Yeah, it's
that,
a nice
that
scene,
one
yeah.
tested your pausing skills.
Yes.
Here's an obscure one. You remember Susan Blakely
Oh, yes.
in Capone
Yes.
with your pal Ben Gazzara?
Oh, my God.
This is one of the great crotch shots in movie history.
Ooh.
She's in bed. This movie came out in about 1974. And I don't know what they were thinking. Where's post-production on this? she's with Ben Gazzara in bed. He's playing Capone.
Yeah.
Not the greatest Capone.
No.
But she's nude in the bed, and Gilbert, she gets out of the bed and swings her legs like this. You see full vagina, but just you got to pause it. But it's unbelievable. It's one of the great crotch shots in movie history.
He's going to rent it.
I heard
Rich
a
man, poor
story.
man. Susan
You know, she's
Blake.
I
beautiful
heard
woman.
a story that in the filming of Lifeboat, I think, was that Tallulah Bankhead?
Yes. I don't have Tallulah Bankhead
Was she
nudity.
nude or Walter Slazak?
No, Tallulah Bankhead would be climbing in and out of the life raft, and they said,
Oh, Lord.
they went to Alfred Hitchcock and said, Mr. Hitchcock, you got to do something. You could see her vagina in this movie, and they said so. He nods his head, and they said, "Well, when are you going to do something?" And Hitchcock said, "Well, I can't decide which to call, wardrobe or hair."
That's great.
Fantastic. Oh, only you would have an anecdote about Tallulah Bankhead.
And
Nude.
Michael Caine had a great quote. He said, "Women are beautiful naked. Men look ridiculous, especially when they're running."
Oh, yes. Nude while running scenes.
Here, these are two movies we've mentioned on the podcast. I mentioned Mandingo and Susan George before. One of Gilbert's favorites, Melanie Griffith in Night Moves.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, she did so much nudity in that movie.
Yeah.
But Gilbert, it's not as good as a movie I tracked down, impossible to find, an Israeli film called Hagan, which I believe in Hebrew translates to the garden. I might be wrong. She's running around an Olive Garden and not the restaurant.
That I would pay to see.
Because that's casual nudity.
Yeah, it would be casual nudity. for
She's
you.
just eating breadsticks.
She is in an Israeli Olive Garden. She was like 18 or 19. Why she did this movie, I have no idea. and it's a young Melanie Griffith and completely naked running around. You'd never been released. It's so hard to find. It was one of these movies I bought about 12 years ago. We found a tape, and we have it at the website. It's Melanie Griffith running around naked. I love the movie you just mentioned, but Hagan
it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie on its own.
There's a movie I haven't seen called Fire on the Amazon.
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock's ass,
Yes.
I heard you
That was a Roger Corman movie.
Yeah,
Yeah?
she was an unknown actress at the time.
Another guest of our show.
And she's having, it's actually a very, I don't know if Gilbert, you'd like this because they're having like sweaty, wild sex, but it's like doggy style. It's pretty crazy. And she's completely nude in it. And it's been released on DVD, but it was one of those where they just transfer a videotape over to DVD, and there's nothing that differentiates the DVD from the video. But yeah, that's when I first launched MrSkin.com. That was one of my go-to. Hey, did you know Sandra Bullock, who just then had just recently did Speed and all that, and had become kind of famous. And I'm a big fan of before they were famous nudity, and that's a great example of one.
And two actresses, beautiful actresses I worked with. I just met one for 2 seconds, but they were both in A Million Ways to Die in the West. Now,
You were in that movie.
yes.
Yes, he played Lincoln.
I forgot about that.
And now Charlize Theron's done
she's
her
ridiculous.
share of nudity.
She's ridiculous. Yeah, I think for her, Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves, if you don't mind the fact that she's in a church, she's complete full frontal. It's pretty awesome.
Doesn't offend me.
No, doesn't.
As long as she's being casual.
Gilbert, she was praying. Yeah, but who wasn't Amanda Seyfried in
Yeah,
that?
she was in that,
yes.
Sarah Silverman was in it too, right?
Now, Amanda Seyfried, I know, well, she played Linda Lovelace in some movie.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And Lovelace.
In Lovelace.
She was also in a movie called Chloe with Julianne Moore, which is my favorite cougar kitten moment in movie history. In other words, the older woman, younger woman lesbian scene. One of the hottest of all time.
Talk slowly.
Yeah.
Familiar with a movie called Desert Hearts?
Oh my God, Patricia Charbonneau.
Yeah. Some nudity in that one. That's another one.
It's
older, younger
another
woman.
Yeah, with Helen Shaver.
Yeah,
I
Helen
remember
Shaver.
In 1986, I was an extra in The Color of Money.
Really?
Yeah.
You buried the lead. Jim.
They filmed it in Chicago, and I did this. Some guy that did this extra stuff. They paid me like, $500 to sit there for a week or something, and they put Helen Shaver right next to me in a scene. I was like sitting in the audience, and she was sitting next to me, and all I could think about is, oh God, she was in.
It's a pretty erotic film.
Yeah,
actually.
Desert Hearts. It's a very good.
Helen Shaver. She was in that movie with what's his name from
Martin Sheen.
Law and Order. Martin Sheen was. It was like
Believers?
Michael
The Believer?
Moriarty?
The Believers.
Yeah, The Believers.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you
When
see
she
her
gets out of
bush.
bed. Yeah, when
You
she
see
gets out of
her
bed.
Yeah, I know
bush
that
in
movie.
that
Did you
movie.
become a
John
believer?
Schlesinger.
But even I just thought of one. If they haven't used this one already, and I'm sure they had
Is
to.
Helen a shaver?
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to get to that.
You can see Helen is no shaver.
I just did my first spit take in the history of the podcast.
And Martin Sheen looks good in between.
Here's two more I know Jim will know. Another movie we talked about on the show, The Wicker Man, Britt Eklund.
Yeah, that's great. She was. Do you know that she was pregnant during that scene where she the nude
Did
dance?
not know that.
Oh, now you just killed it
Sorry.
for me.
All right. And Jenny Agutter in An American Werewolf in London.
Oh, she
That's a
was
great one.
naked and everything.
Walkabout.
And
for a
Walkabout.
while.
Walkabout.
Yeah.
Walkabout. Now, was she old enough in Walkabout?
Walkabout. Yeah, I mean, she was over 18.
But we still don't know about,
Katherine Heigl.
Katherine Heigl.
Ixnay on the Heigl, hey.
Yeah.
I love this about your site, too. I love that
Because according, I spoke to Jared Fogle, and he told me she was too old. I said,
Oh, God.
did you see Katherine Heigl in that movie? And Jared Fogle said, oh, you mean Bubby?
I love that you break down on the site you break things down into categories like cheerleaders, women in prison.
Oh, yeah.
Pimps and hoes. And what is Skingoria?
Skingoria is a horror movie. Well, not always horror movie, but where you have blood and nudity in the scene. So an actress is not necessarily dead, but might have been attacked and has blood. It's just...
I see.
It's something we made up. We have an advanced search at our site, and people want to search by different categories.
Okay.
And that's one of them.
Lucy Liu was in a movie where she's
Flypaper.
Well, that's
City of Industry too.
that one. I haven't
With
seen
Harvey
Flypaper,
Keitel.
but I
yeah.
will be going home to watch it.
Yes.
And I won't.
Frank's been taking notes.
And I won't
Your
be
underwear
able to
will be
reach
like
for the phone.
Flypaper.
But she was also in that vampire movie where she's topless and covered in blood.
Right, yeah, Rise Blood Hunter. Yeah, I would say if you're looking for Lucy Liu, this Flypaper, the reason I like it, she was kind of unknown at the time, and she's in a pool, and they put, there's no water in the pool, and she's having sex with this guy. And see, Gilbert doesn't like sex. I gotta.
No, he doesn't. He's a prude.
I can force myself.
City of Industry. She's dancing on a stage, and the lights don't go on, and everyone doesn't stop. But it's still a good scene. You'd like that.
Can I just do a shout out for Diane Lane in both Unfaithful and a movie called Lady Beware?
I was just going to say, if for all those people that know Unfaithful, go back to the '80s when she was in Lady Beware. Her breasts were double the size than in Unfaithful. And I was a big fan of her in the 80s, and those are my two favorite Diane Lane movies.
Here's a couple other Gilbert co-stars. Jennifer Tilly, you co-starred in Goosed.
Oh, my God.
Well, let me tell you about her.
She was in a lot of naked movies.
Well, Bound is one of the great girl moments with Gina Gershon. But she did a movie called Dancing at the Blue Iguana, which is just another movie. I don't know what was the purpose of the film other to make guys happy. It was like her and Daryl Hannah and Sheila Kelly and Sandra Oh. Remember her from
God,
Our List and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
She all of them play strippers and they work at a strip joint. So they just rotate in doing nude scenes. And I remember like Jennifer Tilly is up there dancing topless, and she could have knocked over beer bottles in the front row because her breasts are so big, and it was just such a great scene. And in one movie you get Daryl Hannah nude and all these other women, and it's a movie that probably very few people even know exists. It's called Dancing at the Blue Iguana. And it's
Jared Fogle told me
oh God,
that there's an old Shirley Temple film.
You're hilarious.
Here's two more Gilberts.
Is there Shirley Black?
Shirley Black.
Oh, you guys.
Here's two more Gilbert's greatest hits. I can't get it out. Problem Child 3 with Carolyn Lowry, play Dr. Gray.
Well,
oh my God!
Do we have anything there?
Do you remember being in that movie?
I'm the only person who remembers that it exists.
I don't even know if anyone out there I could even point to how, other than Problem Child 3, what I could point to. Do you guys remember Dream On with Martin Tupper?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That great show on HBO. She was in one of the episodes topless, and a great topless scene. I know we have that at our website.
And of course, Superboy the series, where you played Knick Knack.
Oh, Stacey Haddock.
Right.
She was hot.
She did a movie.
What do you take for a haddock?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I take aspirin, sometimes I take a calomel. Well, I'd walk a mile for a calomel.
She did a movie called The Beneficiary where she's topless, and what a rack on her. She's spectacular.
Incredible.
And now somebody in one of your sites, I hope you didn't say this, somebody said I also like movies without nudity, and they named The Godfather, which has a great nude scene.
Well, I don't know who would say they don't like The Godfather. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But they said they liked it, but they named it as a movie that doesn't have nudity. And there's a scene with that actress, that Italian, Monday, Tuesday.
We don't know her name.
Yes.
And her daughter then went into movies, and her daughter's totally hot looking.
Well, she's gorgeous, but that's one of those, it's one of the few movies that the actual other stuff in the movie's better than the nudity.
Well, we have to talk about The Godfather for a second, but before, I want to remind Gilbert that he wanted to ask you about Laura Antonelli.
Yes.
Which we didn't talk about while we were on mic.
Do you guys know what cuckolding is? You know what that is,
Sure.
right? Okay. There was a movie she did. Now, you got to understand, when I first got cable television, I'm talking immediately, I'm taping all these Italian sex comedies and not knowing anything about the genre, just seeing the big N in the cable guide. So I'm taping, I keep seeing this Laura Antonelli.
Oh, she was the queen of
Oh,
those.
my God. She did this movie in 1971 called Secret Fantasy.
Oh, my God, yes.
You know what I'm talking
about? She
has it on Viewmaster.
She meets up with this guy, and it turns
he's
out...
her husband, right?
Yeah, and it turns out she's like an exhibition. She's an out-and-out flasher.
But she's not. The husband
is
forcing her to do it with. He'd do all these little tricks because he wanted other men to see her nude. That's how he got off. So, example, Frank. He makes her put on a full black leotard, a whole body leotard, and then when she's not looking, he pricks her toe. So she has to go to the doctor. So she can't just take off her socks. She has to take off the whole thing.
Funny.
And the doctor's looking at her, and the doctor's like, those Italian...
yeah.
Totally inappropriate, the way he's looking at her. He's in the corner like, this is great. And then he does things like they're on a train and there's all these construction workers outside and and then he makes her walk around topless by the window, stuff like that. But it's brilliant.
And I remember the final line, the last line in the movie. Yeah. She's standing in front of like maybe a church choir or something.
Yeah, it's like a huge, he was played the cello for a symphony orchestra.
And he just screams out, "Show them your ass."
Yep.
And then
what is the name of this movie?
Secret Fantasy.
Secret Fantasy. I have not seen it. I do like an Italian sex comedy. So let's ask you about The Godfather real quick. We had Gianni Russo on the show.
Oh, very cool.
I think it was our second episode. And that's a movie that Mike told me to ask you about.
Well, no, listen, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. People always think all I watch are movies with nudity, but I mean, there's other movies I like. I like Godfather, all the Godfather, well, not so much 3, but I'm a big fan. I mean, Bronx Tale, Goodfellas. I'm into those type of films for sure. But gosh, I like stupid movies like Austin Powers. Like my kids, it's kind of fun when as you get older and you have kids. You'll see this where movies like Home Alone, where we're so far past it, but to a kid, a new movie, they're like, wow, this is the greatest thing. My kids are all doing Austin Powers around the house now because they discovered...
You have 3 children.
Yeah, 3 kids, and they all discovered Austin Powers. So now I'm watching it thinking, that's pretty damn funny. Stuff I'm into.
Now, which gets me too, because... Has Elizabeth Hurley ever done nudity?
Oh, my God, so much, yeah. She did a movie called Aria in the late 80s where her and Bridget Fonda both were nude, which is a kind of cool... I want to stress, a lot of this is stuff, there's no way you guys could sit through these movies. They're brutal, but the nudity is great. And she was a little heavier then, had bigger boobs. She did a movie called Weight of Water where she's sunbathing topless. That's fantastic. She did a movie, not the television show, but a movie called Shameless in the 90s where I just thought she looked fantastic. Heck, I just saw she posted a bikini picture on Instagram within the last couple of weeks. She still looks fantastic.
That leads me to the question. Do you actually watch the films? Do you find yourself compelled to watch the entire films in some sense?
If it's a good movie. To be honest,
right.
do you think I'm sitting through the whole Bobby Joe and the Outlaw after the 35-minute mark?
Well, I don't know. You were 11 or whatever it was.
It's just like getting back to Jacqueline Bisset and Secrets. That movie is unwatchable.
Right.
When she's got her clothes on.
Yeah. There's a movie... where Ellen Barkin, before she was famous, called Siesta, she did with Gabriel Byrne.
I know that movie.
Talk about unwatchable, but in the first 3 minutes, she's full frontal laying along a riverbed, and it is one of the just most gratuitous, doesn't make sense, but you're so thankful it's in the movie scenes. But you cannot sit and watch that movie. But luckily, the nudity happens in the first couple of minutes.
And it's casual.
Yes.
How do you feel about gratuitous nudity? I know you don't like...
Well, I'm very much against it, but if it just happens...
If it happens.
To pop up,
yeah.
I think someone should be given their freedom as an artist. Now, there's a gratuitous nude scene, very casual, not long enough for my taste, but in Doc Hollywood.
Julie Warner.
Oh, Julie Warner.
Yeah.
Didn't you do something with her? Weren't you in a movie with her?
Yeah.
I was?
Yeah, you were in... Hang on, I have it. I have it here.
Warner?
Unbelievable.
Oh, my God.
You were in that with Olivia Dabo and Julie Warner.
Okay, that hasn't come out yet. Yeah,
yes, 2015.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's why you don't... Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Another good trivia question is PG nudity. Do you know that Doc Hollywood was rated PG? Now, that scene where Julie Warner goes for a skinny dip looks like, and in this day and age, if you did a scene like that, it would definitely be an R rating, right? That got a PG rating somehow, some way. And there's not a lot of those, but there are PG movies that have nudity. The famous Woman in Red with Gene Wilder with Kelly LeBrock.
Now, you see
frontal.
her vagina in
PG
one
movie.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, I think you see her vagina in that movie.
Yep.
A quick vagina shot, though.
It's she's getting out of bed, yeah.
Not as good as Carmen Miranda's.
No.
I'm sorry. Do you want to thank Mike? Mike, do you want to thank Jim for your lovely gift?
Oh, yes.
That he's
I won't tell anyone the passcode because then everyone...
Well, it's a lifetime membership.
Yes, a lifetime membership. So if I disappear from society...
Yeah.
One of the few guests we've had to bring a gift, Jim.
How do you spell Antonelli?
If you never see me ever again after this, you'll know I'm getting my exercise.
I got Mike on the brain because I wanted to thank Mike McPadden, our social media director and the man who does our wonderful Facebook page, for introducing us to you and setting this up.
I'm a big fan of Mike McPadden. He really is. And nobody knows horror and teen sex comedies and depravity more than Mike McPadden.
He's perfect for us.
He's perfect. Perfect guy to get to know.
And we want to plug his book, his wonderful book of heavy metal movies.
Yes.
Which you can get. So, Mr. Gottfried, what do you think?
Oh, okay.
We could go on all night with this man.
Yeah, see, you're one of those guests I could talk to for this could go on for the next 3 years.
Well, listen, it's fun because we're very similar in that if it's someone famous or a movie that you saw someone naked in and wanted to know who it was, it's just kind of fun to be able to ask someone that actually knows that, I guess. So it's a fun job I have. I get to sit and talk about nude scenes all the time.
I've heard you say you got the best job in the world, and I think you do.
Yeah, it's I gotta get back to the office. We got a big meeting on the best lesbian scenes of the year on Friday.
No, I just wanted to say, you said you had 3 children and you met your wife. You never had to explain to your wife who you were because you met your wife at an event.
Yeah, what happened was so I was going on the air in Chicago a lot, and I was going on a show, the Pete McMurray Show in Chicago, and he had a 1-year anniversary. And you know how it is when you're a guest, they invite you to these things. And I was invited, and a friend of mine brought another girl to the event, and it happened to be my future wife. So I was MrSkin that night.
Right. Yeah,
so there was no having to explain that I'm in the computer consulting business.
Right.
Yes.
That's always a tough one. But she knew out of the box, no pun intended, that I was what I did. And, listen, and there's no way we could be married. What have we been married now? 11 years. That if she was uptight or didn't enjoy what I do or didn't realize or was making my life difficult, it would never work. So I'm very lucky to have someone that lets me do this
it's nice.
and is cool about it.
Let's plug the books quick, Gil.
Oh, wait.
Go ahead.
One more.
Sure.
On a Family Guy episode.
We'll go on.
On a Family Guy episode, the baby makes a derogatory comment about Meg Ryan's topless scene.
I haven't seen that, but I'm wondering what.
In the cut.
In the cut,
Yeah.
that one. Saying that what she had like bad looking breasts or something.
Yeah.
I thought that's a tough one. That's.
Did she do nudity in Flesh and Bone?
Yeah, she was nude
Or is
when
that
she was
Gwyneth
yeah.
Paltrow? I
And
like
now
that
Gwyneth
movie.
Paltrow.
I like that movie. By the way.
That was Gwyneth Paltrow's nude debut, but yeah, the answer is yes. But in the cut, she went full frontal, Meg Ryan, and I don't remember that scene you're talking about, but that's interesting that they thought it wasn't a great nude scene. Kind of a bummer.
We could go on and on.
Oh my God.
We'll have to do a part
intend
two.
to.
Yeah, part two. Part deuce.
I've shut the elevators off. You can't get out.
Let me plug the books quick, Jim. The Skin-tastic video guide and MrSkin's how do you say it? Skin Cyclopedia.
Skin Cycle, yes. Those are our books. And then, of course, all this stuff, of course, available at MrSkin.com, which I know should get a lot of downloads from New York starting in about an hour.
I can't believe you haven't broken into song. That none of these movies, like Blame It on Rio.
Oh, wait a second.
Or none of
wait a second.
Yeah.
Phoebe Cates was
Paradise.
naked in Paradise.
Well, Fast Times to me is the iconic go-to favorite nude scene of all time. But the same year she did this movie Paradise
that
with
that Blue
Willie
Lagoon
Ames.
knockoff?
It's a Blue Lagoon knockoff, but where we were frustrated that Brooke Shields wouldn't show anything. Phoebe Cates said, "Screw it! I'm doing naked showers,
Bless
showing
her heart.
bush
And
underwater."
I heard that when Phoebe Cates agreed to do Paradise, originally they had agreed on a body double, and then when she got to the island, they said, "Nah, I think it'll go a lot quicker if you're naked."
Well, thank
But
God.
okay, Paradise. She sang the theme song.
She did?
Yes.
I did not know that.
When I'm with you, it's paradise. No place on earth can be so nice.
I love that you know this.
Beneath the waterfall, I hear you call.
That's fantastic.
Show me one other podcast where you can hear Gilbert Gottfried cover Phoebe Cates.
Well, is that on the Paradise soundtrack?
Did you take notes, Gil?
Yes.
Do you have your
trust me.
viewing for the next month?
So, I guess we're wrapping?
Yeah. We got to let this man get back to his life.
Yes.
What life? Yeah.
And I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna watch on the History Channel. I heard them do a thing on World War II.
Oh, God.
Where they said Adolf Hitler more like Adolf Titler. Mussolini will give you a hard peenie.
I thought you were going to do Pussolini. Oh, God.
Anyway.
There we go. Jim, you'll have to come back for part two.
Yeah, this
Anytime.
We barely
gentlemen.
scratched the surface.
we're here once again at Nutmeg Post, and I'm Gilbert Gottfried. This has been Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast with my co-host Frank Santopadre. I want to see if there's some.
Well, Frank, you could do.
And our special guest, Jim McBride, better known as MrSkin.
Also, the only guest classy enough to bring a gift.
Yes.
So, well, that's not true. Bobby Slayton brought a gift.
And the only guy I've spent this much time with and had a heart on the entire.
Good to know.
Oh, I'm hurt. Thank you, Frank Verderosa and Nutmeg Post. Thank you, Jim.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.